Exactly. Like they got to be entertaining. Like they could be weird, but they got to still be entertaining to you at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That's what I plan to be, you know, like that's, you know, I'm weird myself. As long as my viewers are the same kind of weird, we good, man.
Exactly.
Drop timings for the week just does not matter at all.
Yeah, because he's always standing there facing one direction.
Yep. Yeah, he's just right there in the center. On global cooldown this week is Styxians, which should not matter at all this fight. Drop whenever. Builds for the week. The build I was using was 6 Catalyst, 6 Overpower, 6 Predator, 6 Rage Hunter, 3 Aetheric Attunement, and 3 Discipline. This build I think is probably the best you're going to get for sweat builds. It's got the 6 Catalyst, which has really been showing just how strong it really is. 6 Overpower for all the downtime that he has. 6 Predators obviously, and include anytime you flawless. I don't think you can do a better build than this, honestly.
I've only got a striker time so far, but I used 6 Catalyst, Overpower, Pred, and Rage, and then I had 3 AA, Zerker, Discipline, and Wild Frenzy. But I think the Rage Hunter, like with how fast you can get him to rage, is going to be more consistent like damage, and it'll be up for the majority of the time.
Yeah, I think you're right. With the uptime of Rage Hunter, I can't imagine wanting to drop it. That's a 40% damage loss for 3 Wild Frenzy and Zerker.
Yeah, well, so with Zerker, if you consider that being up, it's like a 20% loss, like for a good portion of the fight. So basically after he enrages for a solid time, he should be enraged for almost the majority of like what remains.
With the attack speed, I don't think that's actually that big of a loss thinking about it actually, because with the extra attack speed it should result in a faster shock proc, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, depending on your stagger durations and stagger stacking and stuff like that, that could be pretty useful. But I think the build that you're talking about requires like a very specific kind of fight pattern, whereas the Rage Hunter I think is going to be useful for sweat and non-sweat.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have uptime with that, and you're not gonna lose it while he's enraging like you will with the Zerker stacks and whatnot.
Lanterns for the week, I use Panger Lantern. I think Drast Lantern is also pretty okay this week, getting the shock procs even sooner, especially like if you're running sword or something like that. For ease of use, I would go with Pangar. For sword, like top time, I probably would go with Drast.
Okay, yeah, so I was thinking pretty similar. Pangar is going to be great for the health damage since you're not really getting a lot of part breaks, or if you're baiting the boots you'll get the staggers, but you lose a little time doing that if, like, I don't know, it just depends on groups or solos. I think it's going to be Pangar for that frost proc and that base health damage. I think Drast can be pretty viable during groups. You're going to combine those with like other lanterns at the same time though.
Right. Potions for the week. I tried originally the pylon strategy. The problem I actually had was I was placing the pylon after the first boop rather than before the first boop because I didn't think I could get the first boop off. It was okay. I just wasn't able to do enough damage to really kill him, and it was very easy to screw up. I think if you're going for top 5, you should do pylon, Blitz, and Frenzy, of course. If not, I think you should just do Stagger Potion.
Yeah, and if you're actually using like a hammer, which is what all like the majority of the top runs have been and are probably going to be this week as well, you're going to get that stagger before he's dead.
Mods for the week. I want to make a slight call out. Sword is not going to want to bond with Drast weapon. I think people are going to get baited into this with the extra damage to tail. The reason you don't bond with Drast for sword is because when he's laying on the ground, you can't hit his tail with repeating elements. That is the reason that you bond with Stormclaw.
Something that'll actually help you during this fight.
Right. Viable weapons for the week. This week, I think, is once again, all weapons are viable. Koshai's pretty soft boy who feeds you interrupts. So as long as you can take advantage of that, which almost every single weapon can, you should be just fine. Going down the list, Aether Striker is 100% viable. Hammer, definitely viable. Sword, for sure viable. Sword is doing pretty well this week with the fact that they're able to pump out the shock procs. Makes this week pretty easy. Highly recommend playing Sword if you guys have not done it this week. Chainblade, same story. Very good at getting shock procs. Very good this week. 100% viable. Pike, I would definitely say is viable.
Pretty easy to hit the boops with the pike.
Yeah, the roll heavy.
Like it's like really consistent.
Yeah. God, it's so good looking too.
It is.
Axe is definitely viable. His attacks line up decently well with Axe attacks, as well as actually Volatile gets shock procs pretty quick as well. So you're gonna have a good time with Axe as well on this fight. And then repeaters I think will probably have the hardest time of any weapon. And the reason I say that is because they're going to want to bring grenades for the interrupts. But one of the problems with the grenades interrupting this week is that it doesn't go through the shield.
Yeah, so they'd have to get the leaf shield down,
which I think is pretty easy to do on repeaters.
Right. The times will just be a little slower.
And you're going to work for it. You're going to work for those sub threes.
Exactly.
Mistakes in your run or improvements you're looking to make. I have a Aether Slam on his first Enrage that does not hit Koshai, so I don't get my Aether ammo back. I then reload and use the non-Aether ammo to buff up again, which I learned after the run, by the way, is a 15% damage loss, which is pretty freaking huge because I have 2 boops right after that I'm losing 50% damage on. That's the single biggest improvement I think I could make. Other than that, just positioning yourself to have those Aether Slams explosions go down his back and hit all of them and stuff like that. That's all pretty huge.
All right, so yeah, for me, some of the mistakes, it's like you said, it's a big part positioning. So I've done mostly striker runs so far, but coming into the week, I haven't done it in a while, so I was definitely relearning like distances and whatnot for boops and timings for actually hitting them. I feel like that's something that I always have to relearn each time the trial comes around, is timing for the boops. So like the jump heavy for these strikers, just knowing when to jump and when to actually hit.
I think as a whole, a lot of improvements that people are probably going to be looking for is landing those boops. That's a big part of this fight. Baiting the boops is another big part of this fight. So learning your positioning, like where you're able to stand to land the boops as well as bait the boops, I think is going to be huge, as well as when to do it.
And it's going to be different between, again, like solos and groups, because groups, like if one person's off to the side and he's not the one that's like used to hitting the boop, then it'll just throw off the whole run.
Strategy inside the arena, how to bait the boops. You want to stand about a body's length away from him, a Koshai body's length away from him, outside of his attack range. Like you don't want him to be able to swipe you, tail swipe you, anything like that. You don't want him to be able to hit you with any attack, but you don't want to be too far away because then he'll just throw thorns at you. Landing the boop. For strikers, I get asked this a lot. To land the boop, how I do it is I use Spirit Barrage, which is the light, heavy combo. To do this with a boop, you do the light attack on the ground, you hit the jump key, and once you're in the air, you hit the heavy key. This allows you to, 1, not trade the boop. It's very easy to land this once it's set up correctly. 2, you get a mantra once you land because you can finish the combo while still falling through the air. So you already have a mantra up off the boop, which is super handy. Some things where this boop can go wrong is, 1, you kind of have to have a little bit of setup for it, right? Because you have to do that light attack first, and then you have enough downtime to be able to jump and then hit. You really got to have like 2 seconds to set this up before he even jumps, right? If you don't have that much time, you need to just jump heavy. Jump heavy for strikers, where you want to be positioned is right underneath his chin.
Sometimes the enraged ones aren't that hard, because like if he does the little turn one where he runs away and turns back at you, that one's a bit easier to hit with a heavy combo on the second hit of the heavy.
The turnaround one is actually pretty easy to hit with the teleport too, if you've saved it. If you start the teleport as he's doing the U-turn, if you do it later than that, you're going to not hit it. If you start the teleport as he's turning around, you'll hit that boop with the teleport. And then as for every other weapon, it's pretty much just jump attack, honestly. With the exception being of pike, where you're able to roll heavy, which does that like overhead slam attack with the pike. The fight overall is going to be 3 boops. So you're going to be wanting to bait 3 boops. After the very first boop, he should go into enrage either right after the boop if you do enough damage. If your weapon isn't strong enough, like everything but hammer, then he'll probably do one attack and then enrage. After that enrage, you want to position yourself away from him again or by his tail so that he'll go into a boop. And then after that boop is done, his boop should be off cooldown once again. And so you should be able to position yourself away from him and boop him again. And then after the third boop, he should be pretty much dead. If not, you'll have to deal with some of his attacks. And then at 1 minute, you have a huge damage opportunity where he goes into Aether form. Just make sure you don't get hit by his Fist Slam where he spawns the thorns.
Yeah, like you're saying, just the biggest part of this fight is knowing how to bait the boops, because you want the maximum uptime on overpower.
Right. I think as far as the strategy goes, I think the best thing I can tell everybody for strategy is how to bait the boops and how to land the boops, because that is like 80% of this fight. If you understand that 80%, the other 20% is doing the best damage you can on while he's laying on the ground.
Exactly. So like positioning with whatever weapon you're using and whatever part you're going for.
Yep. Top times for the week. So top time for the solo boards this week is Helltrix at 47 seconds. After watching his run, I think his run is flawless. I think the 47 is pretty secure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's not going to get much better than that. Like, I just watched that run and he hit all the boops. He didn't have them back away or do any unnecessary actions.
Top 5 this week is 103 right now with Ceneric. So 55 I think is very doable. I would even be not surprised by like a sub 50, because all it would take would be 2 sub 50s right now. A sub 55 100% is what we're going to see, with like an 80% chance of sub 50.
Yeah, so sub 50 definitely possible. I think there's definitely players good enough to like repeat that run and get like those 49s like you see. I think there's more people capable of doing that. There's definitely going to be more runs that are like closer to Helltrix. Like you're saying, sub 55 seconds, I like guaranteed it's going to be less than that for top 5 solo. Sub 50, definitely possible.
Top 100 right now for solos is 151. At the beginning of this week, I was going to say it's going to be pushed to like 135, 140. But it's looking a little bit more like 130-ish.
I'm gonna say probably like low 130s, maybe a little less with how it looks like right now.
I'm trying to think if I wanted to go any lower than 130. If it goes lower than 130, it's not going to be by very much. If it goes lower than 130, it's going to be like 128 or something like that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm in agreement with this one.
Groups is top time is 27 seconds. Think we'll probably see like 23, 24 seconds for a top time.
I can see that.
Top 5 right now is 33 seconds. This is definitely going to be sub 30.
Absolutely.
I think our top times right now that we're looking at 27 seconds is probably going to be right around where the top 5 is going to be sitting.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Top 100 right now is 116. Beginning of the week, I was going to say sub 1 just as like a pretty loose time. I think that's still pretty close. Man, it might just be sub 1.
Yeah, I'm honestly thinking like sub 1 as well, because this is a harder one for people and not everyone is super great at hitting the boops. So
yeah, I think I'm going to stick to my sub 1.
I think this one's gonna just probably be a sub 1, though it is only Saturday, so we will see.
Hey guys, don't forget to leave a comment down below in case we missed anything. And if you like the content, think about subscribing. It really helps me out. And I really appreciate it if you guys do. Thank you so much. Wanted to give everybody a heads up. Next week for trials, not going to be Resit. It's going to be Stormclaw. So keep your eye out for that. Hope you guys enjoyed and see you guys next week.